spilled on the street. He was the rose that grew out of the concrete, the same ground where his body lay, like rose petals on a stony grave. Why do we fear each other than the lies of yesterday? I'll never know, but look at all these roses with petals on the ground. They call this one my crown. I'm asking you to look at all these roses with petals on the ground. They call this one Trayvon Martin. I'm asking you to look at all these roses with petals on the ground. They call this one Tyshawn Lee. I'm asking you to look at all these roses with petals on the ground. It's far too many for me. The tears of my mother were spilled at his grave. She knows the cost the whole world could not repay. And when she should have felt our sympathy, all we told her is that her baby was guilty. Do we even have compassion? Do we even want to see? I'll never know. Look at all these roses with petals on the ground. They call this one Freddie Gray. I'm asking you to look at all these roses with petals on the ground. They call this one Eric Gardner. I'm asking you to look at all these roses with petals on the ground. They call this one Sandra Bland. And I'm asking you to look at all these roses with petals on the ground. Every woman, every man. Oh, sometimes I wonder if we're more than a number. Would we ever see how beautiful, how special, how precious you were? Somebody told me that if only you would better decide, you would still be alive. But I'm asking you to look at all these roses with petals on the ground. They say this one's Breonna Taylor. I'm asking you to look at all these roses with petals on the ground. They say this one's Ahmaud Arbery. I'm asking you to look at all these roses with petals on the ground. They say this one's George Floyd. I'm asking you to look at all these roses. Look at all these roses. Look at all these roses with petals on the ground. I'm asking you to look at all these roses. Look at all these roses. Look at all these roses with petals on the ground. I'm asking you to look at all these roses. Look at all these roses. Look at all these roses with petals on the ground. I'm asking you to look at all these roses. Say a prayer for all these roses. Shout and march for all the roses and petals on the ground. I'm asking you to look at all these roses. Look at all these roses. Look at these roses with petals on the ground. The blood of my brother was spilled on the street. He was the rose that grew out of the concrete.
I don't like antiques, I want something new. The world don't like no freaks coming in their rooms. But this beggar's got a right to choose. I'm not a stranger, I'm just like you. I need love, I don't need money. After all these years, baby, I'm still running. Who's gonna say my want is not a need? I get looks that get so dirty. After all these years, baby, it's still hurting. Who's gonna say my want is not a need? Just want my piece of the American pie. Got your slice, where is mine? Lick my fingers on this thing called life. Just a piece of the American pie. Break the chains of old beliefs. I'm the flame that you can't unsee. I don't like antiques, I want something new. I got my dignity, gonna live my truth. Like the southern smile, I just can't lose. Let my light sweep across the room. You may laugh, but it's not funny. That's the thing that keeps me coming. Who's gonna say my want is not a need? All those looks that get so dirty lets me know that they're still learning. Who's gonna say my want is not a need? Just want my piece of the American pie. You got your slice, where is mine? Lick my fingers on this thing called life. Just a piece of the American pie. Break the chains of old beliefs. I'm the flame that you can't unsee. My fingers on this thing called life. Just a piece of the American pie. Break the chain of old beliefs. I'm the flame that you can't unsee.
Hello, welcome to the 2020 Transgender Day of Remembrance. My name is Alex Corona. I am the Transgender Program Coordinator at the Milwaukee LGBT Community Center. The purpose of Transgender Day of Remembrance is to honor and remember the lives of those transgender and gender nonconforming people who were murdered this year in the United States. Unfortunately, the level of anti-trans violence across the country and across the world is at an epidemic level, and we lost over 30 siblings this year. We are sharing this space virtually tonight to come together as a community and as a family to remember those lives, to say their names aloud, and to give them our respect. It is so important that we are together, even virtually, because that is where our resilience comes from. Our strength comes from our community, which comes from us being together, seeing each other, and uplifting each other. In this space tonight, we will have the time and the ability to grieve and to ground ourselves together. We will be sharing speeches from community members, musical performances, slideshows of events, and also a vigil at the end, including the names and the pictures of the people who we lost this year. Please take the time that you need to grieve and to process. Please remember that you have community and that you have people who care about you, and that your trans life is so important. To all of our loved ones and allies who are here as well, we thank you so much for your support of the trans and gender nonconforming community. Please take time tonight to hold these people in your heart. If you have a candle or something, light your candle just to have a light for them. Remember that our resilience is in our community, and I hope that we're able to come together as a family for future events. Thank you.
I'm Reverend Jennifer Nordstrom, she, her, and hers. I serve as the Senior Minister of the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee.
And I'm Reverend Jonah Overton, they, them, theirs. I am the lead pastor at ZOW MKE Church.
We're going to open this evening with a call and response. I'll say a line, and your response at home is to respond with, "Together we rise." You can either say that out loud in your home, or you can write it in the chat, or both. So I'll say each line, and then Pastor Jonah will lead you all in your "Together we rise" response. So I'll begin. Tonight, we gather to mourn, to remember, and to commit to a better tomorrow.
Together we rise.
It's been a long mess. We struggle, resist, oppressed.
Together we rise.
This day, set aside for grieving the loss, we hold one another.
Together we rise.
We'll read their names, light the candles, hold their memories.
Together we rise.
Remembering their dreams, their visions, and taking them forward in our hands.
Together we rise.
We are not alone. Late at night when fear shudders, we think of each other and remember.
Together we rise.
This day marks the lives lost, but it also marks our determination to remember and to keep going.
Together we rise.
We are the voices of those gone before us and the memories of those who will come after us. We sing into the night.
Together we rise.
We hold it all, the joy and the sorrow, the grief and the power to create a better tomorrow.
Together we rise.
This is a proclamation from the mayor of Milwaukee, Tom Barrett. The proclamation reads, "Whereas the city of Milwaukee proudly joins the transgender community in recognizing Transgender Day of Remembrance on Friday, November 20th, 2020. And whereas Transgender Day of Remembrance is dedicated to remembering those who lost their lives to anti-transgender violence and discrimination, to raise awareness about these heinous acts, and to honor transgender voices across the globe. And whereas Transgender Day of Remembrance has generated a much-needed awareness and discussion around preventing sexual assault, hate crimes, and supporting survivors, and whereas Transgender Day of Remembrance recognizes that we must remain united in our efforts to end violence and bias against our transgender and non-binary residents. And whereas the city of Milwaukee strives to enhance the health, well-being, and quality of life for residents and visitors by eliminating discrimination, identifies the importance of inclusion, and joins community members in recognizing and valuing the contributions made by its transgender and non-binary residents. And now, therefore, I, Tom Barrett, Mayor of the City of Milwaukee, do hereby proclaim Friday, November 20th, 2020, to be Transgender Day of Remembrance throughout the City of Milwaukee.
On behalf of the City of Milwaukee Equal Rights Commission, I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to join you through video for this solemn occasion. On this Transgender Day of Remembrance, we honor those lost to hate and stigma and rededicate ourselves to building a city, nation, and world where all transgender people are treated with dignity. Stigma and discrimination and a wide range of violence overlaps with other axes of oppression prevalent in our society, such as racism, sexism, misogyny, xenophobia, and anti-sex worker sentiment and discrimination. These and other forms of oppression are hostile and deadly and must end. Transgender Day of Remembrance is a time to pause and honor each person, tell their story, remember them. But scholar Sarah Lamble reminds us to do more. Quote, "None of us are innocent. We must envision practices of remembrance that situate our own positions within structures of power that authorize violence in the first place. Our task is to move from sympathy to responsibility, from complicity to reflectivity, from witnessing to action. It's not enough to simply honor the memory of the dead. We must transform the practices of the living." As a society, we can look at what programs and services or legislation can be enacted to better serve and protect transgender individuals. Even better, how do we build a more inclusive society where trans people are recognized as human beings worthy of equality and no longer seen as other? It's only when all that happens that we may see anti-trans prejudice begin to decline, and violence against transgender people along with it. The Equal Rights Commission calls on the Wisconsin leadership and the legislature to take the measures needed to reduce the vulnerability of trans people to all forms of violence that are motivated by prejudices against their gender identity and/or expression. We call on our state to end the social exclusion of trans and gender diverse people by guaranteeing them full access to all human rights. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Wendy Strout, and I'm the Wisconsin State Director for the Human Rights Campaign, and I use she, her pronouns. One of the things that my team and I do on the ground here in Wisconsin is we work to get pro-LGBTQ champions elected at the local, state, and federal level. And as we recognize Transgender Week of Awareness and Transgender Day of Remembrance, I want to personally invite you to think about running for office. I want you to think about the fact that we need a diversity of voices at all levels of government, whether it's at the village level, at the city, county, state level, federal government. We need your voice, and we really need more transgender and non-binary people running for elected office, because when we have your voice at the table, better policies are made, more people feel that they are represented by their local government, and we have so much more better experiences because of the experience that you bring to elected office. So think about that this week, and continuing on, think about running for office. That is my invitation to you. And thank you to Forge for allowing this opportunity. You have a great day. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alderwoman JoCasta Zamarripa, and I am honored to have been invited to be a part of Milwaukee Transgender Day of Remembrance. As the first out openly LGBTQ+ alder in the city of Milwaukee, I know the importance of representation. Today we remember, and every day we remember, our transgender siblings who we have lost to violence. And may we never forget that we have to keep fighting and advocating for every single member of our queer community. Thank you. Gracias.
Good evening. I'm Michael Munson with Forge. I use he, him, and his pronouns. As we move into the section of hearing from many members of our community tonight, we wanted to begin with a piece of writing that reflects on the life of Monica Roberts. As many of you know, Monica Roberts recently died, not from anti-trans violence. She was a fierce, no-nonsense, proud Black trans woman who walked the walk as well as talked the talk. She held so much Black trans history in her head, and she captured much of it in her Transgrio blog. She was someone who early on, back in the 90s, tracked Black trans murders, as well as made sure that media outlets stopped misgendering our siblings who died. Both Monica and I came out and transitioned in the early 1990s. It was an honor to know her, to have worked with her, and to have been able to bring her up from Houston to Milwaukee to speak at the 2018 Transgender Day of Remembrance. It's a privilege to introduce our first speaker, someone who also knew Monica well, and that speaker is Helen Boyd.
Hi, my name is Helen Boyd, and I think like a lot of us in Transland, I'm still reeling from the loss of my friend Monica Roberts. So I wrote a piece that I wanted to share with you all today because I knew I wouldn't get through speaking off the cuff. So, my friend Monica, whose obituary was in the New York Times. My friend Monica, whose Shut Up Fool awards are legendary. My friend Monica, who did so much of the work and got so little of the attention for too damn long. My friend Monica, who did at least start to see some of the recognition she deserved at the 50th anniversary of Stonewall in 2019 in New York City, blog awards, speaking gigs that paid real money. But that Monica's hard work and dedication to democratic politics wasn't mentioned by the New York Times is a shame. She was a stalwart. It's not as if she always agreed. I'm not sure there is a person on earth she agreed with all the time. But my God, she worked for the party and for change. She believed so deeply, and you can see that in the rage she expressed and the impatience she had for lightweights. She called out transphobia in Black communities as hard as she called out the racism in trans communities. She educated trans women about cross-dressers and called out the transphobia in cross-dressing communities. She was intersectional, hardworking, earnest as fuck, made of salt and honey. I'm going to confess that I met Monica by pissing her off. I'm probably not the only one. It was some stupid campaign I was on as a mouthy young upstart in Transland, and I heard she was hurt because I hadn't emailed her to sign something. And I was honestly shocked that, one, she'd ever heard of me, and two, that she thought my stupid cause was worth her time. I mean, she was the transgria, the voice of reason and anger, and goddamn, she was always right. We worked it out. We were both the kind of people who yell first and apologize later, if ever. We often commiserated about not being the type of people who could work within an org, which meant always being a freelancer volunteer in the work, something we both appreciated and were frustrated by, because it meant having a day job to pay the bills. But here's the thing, she did the work. She did so much of it. Phone calls all the time to Black trans folks in trouble, digging into stories about crimes that misgendered victims, where no one knew the person was trans, but she found out. She did it out of love and her sense of justice and decency. She told people with privilege to get a hold of themselves, to value the access they had to do the work on behalf of others who couldn't. She was so rarely taken seriously as a journalist, but she was the best of us, and she did it with a blog. She was never, ever paid what she was worth. What I learned from Monica is not the important part of the story. What a million young trans people and Black trans women learned from her is the thing. Don't take yourself lightly. Don't excuse bullshit. Hold on to yourself and hold on to the people who have your back. And work like your goddamn life and the future depends on it. I don't think I'm ever going to get over the loss of this woman, and I've lost a lot of people. But Monica was always so stubborn, so right, so committed, so motivated by the love of her people and the safety of them too. I wish she had known that the New York Times would publish her obit, because I honestly don't think she would have ever expected that. She was humble despite herself, and I think she would have been pretty damn pleased with herself in an awesome way. But here's the thing, she would have leveraged every goddamn second of it to do more good in the world, to keep more people safe, to make sure young trans people knew they were loved and awesome, to tell each of her communities in turn what they were fucking up and what they were doing right. I have never known an actual person who lived up to the legacy, the renown, the love that she was. But my God, what a set of footprints in the sand. None of us, to my mind, would be paying attention to the violence against Black trans lives without her. That march in Brooklyn was seeded a long time ago by her work. So much was. May we all recommit ourselves to turning Texas blue, eventually, in her name, because she deserves twice as much. So on this Transgender Day of Remembrance, my memory is all about Monica and all of the work she did. And for the record, just want to recommit myself to all of that work in her name. Happy T-Door.
We have an amazing lineup of speakers for you tonight from folks of many different identities and experiences. I encourage you to settle in for the first 12 speakers, with 2 more a bit later. Some of the speeches are as short as a minute and some are as long as 6 minutes. We are deeply grateful to each of them for their contribution, for their words, their emotions, and their truths.
Hello, my name is Christine, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and they, them, theirs. Transgender Day of Remembrance is a time where we gather as a community and honor our dead, the majority of which were Black and Latinx trans women. Too many of us have fallen victim to acts of violence resulting from hate. Many more of us have taken our own lives to escape an unkind and unforgiving world. Today, we remember their lives in hopes to continue to fight the fight for a more just society. We remember our advocates in the past and present who worked tirelessly to make the world listen to our collective voice. We give thanks to their drive and determination for making our community strong. We remember our artists who told our story through their music, painting, and writing. We give thanks to their creativity and for cultivating our community's soul. And for me personally, I reflect upon my own journey towards womanhood and give thanks for all my teachers within our community to help guide me here. I would not be speaking these words today were it not for the friends, those who I consider family, and professionals in the support industry who are also trans. And finally, we remember you listening to these videos. You are part of an amazing community that loves, cares, and supports you. You are never alone. You have the most wonderful family of trans siblings. Take care and much love to you all.
Hi, my name is Janice. I'm trans. I've been living this life for over 30-something years. What do Trans Day of Remembrance means to me? It means remembering girls who we've lost, either due to violence or health issues, and just recognizing, the gifts that they brought while they were here. It also is a day to remember those that are present. A lot of times people will mourn and rally and talk about, girls who were killed, girls who were beat, but we don't celebrate those that are here. And to me, Trans Day of Remembrance is about giving those that are here their flowers while they yet live, so they can see the beauty that they bring. And I don't want nobody standing over my casket talking about, oh, she was a good girl, oh, she did this and she did that. How come you can't tell me that while I'm here? And to me, that's a day of recognition to talk about and celebrate, girls who are here and are doing different things for the community, that's making a change and making a difference. Women who have become senators and running into offices that 10 or 15 years ago we wouldn't have even been considered for. And I just want to, put that out there, that others should do the same thing. Try to celebrate, a girl who's up and coming. It's one thing to talk about, girls who, they fought a good fight and, they were in the life, and they did different things in the community and, they're no longer here. Yes, that's wonderful. But what about the girls who are struggling right now and fighting a fight? Because the race isn't over. We're still struggling. We're still fighting. And let's celebrate those girls. Let's commend those girls. Not let's wait till they're killed or they're slain or something happens to them to give them their recognition. Let's celebrate those girls. Let's push them. Let's encourage them. And let's use that day to give them the more motivation to do even more and better things for us. Being trans is hard and it's rough. I live and breathe this lifestyle every day, and it's not easy. I don't care how passable you might be, there's still something, that's going to always reflect back to you being trans. And let's celebrate. Let's not wait till the battle is over to talk about it. Let's love on each other. Let's support one another. And let's become great together. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Akari. Tidor, is Trans Day of Remembrance. Tino means a lot to me as I live my life unapologetically as a trans masculine person, and I have to deal with the constant risk of life, the constant risk of my life. Every day I be reminded of that. As much as I want to be around my close circle of friends and be there in safe spaces, the world's not safe for me. The world's not. I'm going through progresses to help me get safer, and even that has been a hell ride. So I can only imagine all my brothers and sisters during these times. Because I'm hard. I go hard. But not everybody needs to do that or should have to do that to be here, to earn. Not even earn, because you don't have to earn to live. To be here is enough. And it's just not right now. So on this Trans Day of Remembrance, I'm remembering all of my siblings. And even during these times, I'm going to remember my black and brown trans siblings as well, as they're being targeted at a higher rate. I gotta be strong for a lot of people in my community, especially when folks are going to different places and being taken from us. So on this Trans Day of Remembrance, I have anger. Nothing but anger for all the people who do not deserve to lose their lives this year, the past years, and the ones coming forward.
Hi, my name is Marie. I go by she, her, hers. And I want to talk about what Trans Day of Remembrance means to me. What it means to me is a time that we come together and remember and honor the trans people whose lives were lost due to violence, and remembering those that have passed away this year. Not only do we come together and honor and remember those whose lives are lost, but we should also remember that they had something to offer the world, which was taken away from the world. They had gifts, they had talents, they had abilities, they had values, and they also had loved ones who also suffered because the lives of the people they cared about were taken away just for being who they are. And so not only do we honor and remember those whose lives were lost and taken away, we also remember the loved ones of their loved ones who also suffer because of the losses. And the society has come a long way, but there's still a long way to go. And yeah, and we should also honor so yes, in remembrance of them and honor of them, we go on and continue to work to make this a better world for them and for us.
Dear squinting newborn with thick jet black curls, you wear a pink hat in some strange group labeled girls. You fret and you cry in need of support, kindness, and love, and happiness finds you with your parents above. Beautiful child with long wavy blonde hair, flowing in the humid breeze without a care, unaware of the hatred being fed to you, not cognizant of the slurs you hear and automatically repeat too. Dumbfounded why they aren't allowing you to go shirtless in the heat, or why on earth they'd be expecting you to sit down when you pee. Awkward teenager in a body so strange, your chest is growing and starting to change. They're saying you should be wearing a bra, and you push down the feeling that something is wrong. Humiliated and squirming, soon you're picking one out in the department store where you fight the urge to shout. School dances, sports, and health class begin, and you shove down the feeling something's not right again. You secretly use your brother's Axe body wash, and with this small relief in the shower, you wash. There aren't any words, you know, yet for this melancholic grief. You feel in a dress, you feel in a bra, you feel when made fun of for the masculine way that you walk. It's just how you walk. It's just who you are. It's how you exist. They aren't understanding, not getting the gist of your pain. You fret and you cry in need of support, kindness, and love. You're coming to find conformity reigns above. Maybe if you wear makeup, you could learn to love yourself in this ill-fitting body you try to cover. So you try and you try, becoming something you're not, wearing heels, lipstick, sometimes even feeling hot. Lonely college soul, floating above the life you've created in search of self-love that's been absent and dried up because, heaven forbid, you embrace who you are and stop trying to kid. Your curls have returned, but most days they're weighted down by grease while you try to retrace to find your balance and feet. Then the beautiful child with long wavy blonde hair crosses your memory, and you wonder when you started to care. So much about what others think, and then the safety lights flash, and the memory and the golden waves are gone in a blink. But this time, you dig and you dig until your fingers bleed red, in search of the meaning of this disconnect in your head. A flamingo button-down finds its way into your hands. You dare to try it on and begin to understand. The you never met was buried so deep. He protected you from the pain of injustice that seeks you for who you are, for how you exist, for the name you will choose, for the one you will kiss. You fret and you cry in need of support, kindness, and love. But to your dismay, Some value you less than the long-haired blonde they once loved. Years later, you learn to develop intolerance. The intolerance of hatred, of bullying, of injustice. You'll see the man in the mirror stare back at you. You hear your voice, deeper, stronger, and true. You'll make new friends and gain new family. And at long last, you'll feel at peace. Dear squinting newborn with thick, jet black curls, I wish I could spare you the anguish you'll endure. But not for a moment can you begin to fathom the joy of the day you finally get to meet the you don't know yet, the you that is me.
Hi, my name's Core. I use they, them pronouns. I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath in and out. In and out. What are you feeling right now? What emotions are consuming your thoughts? What emotions are coursing through your veins? Confusion? Fear? Worry? Doubt? Anxiety? Outrage? Joy? Despair? Defeat? Rejection? Disgust? Optimism? Desire? Pride? Depression? Embarrassment? Disappointment? Hope? What are you feeling? Whatever you are feeling is completely right. I want you to notice it and let it be there. Let it be there. Right now, I'm feeling a lot of anxiety, fear, outrage, and optimism. There is a big knot in my stomach, as well as a big clump in my throat, and I want to curl up in a ball, scream at the world, and hug everyone I meet all at the same time. I try to take a second to breathe and check in on my emotions, just like we did from time to time, maybe once a day. It brings me back to my core, back to the center, trying to bring me back to what's important. So I take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, and I think about what I need. Today is Trans Day of Remembrance. We honor those who have been wrongfully taken away from us. So many emotions bubble up inside of us just from saying that sentence. It's hard to process the abundance of evil in the world, and the evil never stops, and it probably never will, but we stop. We take a deep breath, and we remember. Remember the joy. Remember the bravery. Remember the good that our lost siblings did and still do. We stop. Take a deep breath in. Think about the brave trans folks risking their lives to be themselves. Stop. Take a deep breath in. Think about the trans folks who are going through the terrifying and exciting experience of discovering who they are right at this moment. Stop. Take a deep breath. And remember that the siblings who we have lost fought a hard battle. They fought the confusion, the fear, the doubt, disgust, anxiety, rejection, dysphoria, embarrassment, and so many more emotions. Every day is a struggle for trans folks, at least for me. The fear of judgment, rejection, and a whole lot of other stuff is constantly on my mind. I have a ton of emotions related to my transness, and I shove those emotions aside because they're always going to be there. They live within me, and they're just a part of my life. I just want to be myself. I don't want to worry about what people are thinking of me or how they see me. I just want to be myself. I don't want to have to shove those emotions aside. I want to walk down the street without getting a funny look, with a look of confusion. We just want to be ourselves. We want to walk down the street without being looked at funny or assaulted. We long for a day when we can breathe in and out and not feel like we have to live our lives in fear. So we constantly breathe in and breathe out. Check our emotions. Is the fear still there? Breathe in. Breathe out. But always remember the good.
Hi everyone, my name is Elle. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a Black trans woman in Milwaukee. This year, our personal and national losses, the pandemic, and the everyday challenges of life for transgender and non-binary people of color have made this year a particularly hard one for our whole community. It's my honor and duty to serve and represent the LGBTQ community of Wisconsin as an LGBTQ health equity advocate. Rest in power to all of our brothers, sisters, and siblings that we have lost this year. Each one of them is royalty, someone's child, someone's sibling, someone's parent, someone's teacher, someone's lover, and they were all the light of someone's life. We must continue to celebrate them and to labor in their absence. I've made it a point to start sharing posts, articles, and news clips of transgender murders in multiple platforms every time I come across one of them. Every time there is a new case, I want to cry, I want to scream, I want to fight. I question my own life and privilege. I question the people around me and my safety and their intentions. I think about the ways we uphold the gender binary and transphobia. I think about how much we have to fight in public, online, in our families, and in our relationships. I think about the lack of connectivity and resources that leave transgender and non-binary people, particularly Black trans women like myself, to make our decisions out of survival instead of from a place of power. The only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion. Frederick Douglass said that. We embody that in our journey as trans and non-binary people. We reach for the beauty, talent, and wisdom of our higher selves every day with our growth and very transition. We are more than labels and terminology and the hate that we face. We are not free, but we are closer to it than those that don't know that they are being held captive by Western patriarchal and capitalistic thought. We are more than our bodies, and we do have the power to rewrite our stories. You have a right to be angry, to be sad, to grieve without judgment. We have the right to build our communities outside of the flawed models we are surrounded by, to connect with each other and to celebrate and to grieve together. We have to uplift each other and celebrate her story while we are here. We cannot only continue to gather out of tragedy. If you are in this space, know that we want you to get involved, organize with us, and be a part of future trans-led spaces by the leaders of our Milwaukee and Wisconsin community. We need you there to do our work. Don't struggle in silence. Don't feel like you're alone. Look each other in the eyes. We have some of the same scars, same heartbreaks, and same fears. I want you to know that white people and housewives do not own the term self-care. Please take care of yourself. I'm no expert, but in my own work, I have noticed how much of my own self-care practices affect my productivity in the work. We cannot help others, even our loved ones and families, in the ways we envision if we are not being cared for. You deserve it. This journey is hard enough. Root for yourself. Let your self-care look and feel different than others. Self-care or spiritual baths, writing and music can be a part of self-care, as well as reading, exercising, shopping, and even getting paid justly for your labor and work and contributions can be a part of self-care. We are not broken. We can heal. I am not free while any woman is unfree, even while her shackles are very different from my own. Audre Lorde said that. I want to leave you debunking the myth that the violence just comes with our identity. When a trans woman is killed, her most likely killer is a man, a partner, a family member, or someone known to the victim. This is the same in all domestic violence and violence against women. You cannot keep writing off the murders of this community as a consequence of life for us living our truths. I appreciate this space and everyone willing and working to put on this year's TDOR together. Thank you all so much for participating, for all the beautiful video submissions, and for allowing me the privilege and proximity to healing and to witness healing for others in my work.
Hi, everyone. I'm BJ Daniels, and I'm very honored to be able to speak to you today on this very special day, the Transgender Day of Remembrance here in Milwaukee on November 20th. I just have a few comments to say. As someone who came out in 1977, when things were really kind of wild and woolly, and I felt like the world was really changing, and for me anyway, and my eyes were opened in so many different ways, the least of which were some of the people that became influential in my life and people that I looked up to as a young gay kid who was on the feminine side of the spectrum. I had always wanted to be a performer and was always considered very girly. But I really had the opportunity to meet some great people through my long career who were instrumental in changing the way that I felt about not only myself, but the courage to be that authentic self. One of the first people that I met in Madison, Wisconsin was the woman that lived next door to me. Now, Terry was a beautiful woman. She was a waitress at a local restaurant a few blocks away from where we lived, and it turned out she confided in me that she was transgender, and she was really literally the first person that I had met who had expressed that to me. Growing up in the country, I was very unaware of a lot of people that were like her. And it wasn't because I had any prejudice, but it was simply because they were non-existent. They were people that were not visible to others. So just the act of her telling her story at that time was something really quite special. So Terry, if you're still with us, I lost track of her a long time. I honor you because you really opened my eyes in so many ways, and your courage is something that is exemplary to me. Along the way as well, when I moved to Milwaukee, I met this Australian woman. She was also a trans woman, and her name was Holly Brown. She was a performer, and she was also a showgirl on the Gold Coast of Australia, and she came all the way to the U.S. to do a show on the West Coast, and she ended up just staying because she really loved it. She found a community here that was lacking in Australia in the 80s, And she ended up staying here for many, many years, probably a decade or more. And we became quite close friends. And she really opened my eyes about what it was like to live on a daily basis your authentic life. And really sort of some of the difficulties with that, because she often felt like she was somebody that didn't have a community. And yet she was embraced by the Milwaukee LGBT community and was revered. And now, of course, her name is in the pantheon of some of the greats in the LGBT community of Milwaukee. Another couple gals that I worked with were Candy Stratton, who was Miss Trans USA a couple years ago now, I want to say. And we worked together at Club 219. And I knew her back then before she transitioned. But she was always very single-minded about who she was, as was Mimi Marks, another great performer who really just exemplified what we're talking about here, which is being resilient and finding a way to make your dreams of who you are come true. One of my favorite folks that I'm super proud of, that I have known for many, many years, is Alexandra Billings. She started out as a performer named Shantae here in Chicago and in Milwaukee. And the thrill of a lifetime was me seeing her on television shows and seeing her on Transparent and knowing that she was starring on Broadway in Wicked. That was just such a joy to me. And I wanted to just give everyone out there who is living the truth and finding a way to do that against all odds, against just great pushback from not only the government, but people around the world. Just know that you are loved. And I admire your courage, your resilience, and you are groundbreakers. You are making the way for others. So that's why I wanted to give them all a great shout out. And as you can see behind me, it's one of my great friends and fellow performers, Ginger Spice. So happy Transgender Day of Remembrance today, everyone. And thank you for letting me share a little bit of my history with all of you.
There's a story that I tell my kids, because they are at an age, most of them, where they still ask for stories before bed. And this is the story I tell them when they ask for what they call a real-life story. And it goes like this. Once, there was a man in a village, and he left that village to come to America. But when he got to the border, when he got to where he came through immigration, he was told, "Your name, which had been Vice, will no longer be Vice, but will be Wise, because there are too many vices in America." And so he went through, but he would always tell people when he met them, "My name is Reuben Wise. It was Vice, but it was changed to Wise when I came here." And he would introduce himself that way to everyone, to hold on to his name, to where he had been, to who he had become, and who he had come from. And I think about that on Trans Day of Remembrance, when I think about the people and where we have come from, what we have been, who we have become, the times when it felt more frightening to be true to ourselves, the times when it felt less, and also the very reality that those who went before us, those whose shoulders we stand on, some are still here, some are not, are the path we have trodden to be here, which is why I try not to spend too much time in memory or grief, but to take that grief and turn it into hope, and take that hope and turn it into action. And I hope that that will lead to change for all of us, that this day of remembrance may turn into a day of action and a day of inspiration.
Hi, my name is Ericka Sinclair, and I'm the founder and owner of Health Connections Incorporated.
We're a clinic that was started to work with vulnerable populations to get them access to health care. And one of the populations with whom we work are the transgender population, prescribing hormones and doing name and gender change assistance. And I have, for the first time in 2020, experienced the first person, the death and the murder of a first person trans experience. And it was like having a family member die unexpectedly or be killed. And it was hard. But it gave me pause in so many ways to understand that people of trans experience are to be honored on a different level of honor. Honored already, but knowing that you are in physical danger at any point in time for just being who you are, and in spite of that, you being all of who you are. It's amazing, and it takes courage. And I say rest in peace, rest in honor, and I'm amazed and I'm honored to be a part of that experience. And whatever I can do, as I always have done, I will continue to do to protect trans people of all trans experiences. I thank you for the honor of being able to serve. And I wish I could protect in the ways that you should be protected. But I do what I can do. And I say thank you. And I say rest in peace.
When I die, don't mourn me. Remember us. Remember we are a free people, a powerful people, a people with history. Remember we have been here since the beginning. Remember our origins are carved into ancient stone. Remember we are in Africa, Europe, Asia, Australia, and the Americas. Remember, no matter what we have faced, we have persisted. Remember when no one would help us, we helped each other. Remember how we lived our lives. Remember each moment we shared. Remember us together. Remind each other that we are still here. Remember us so we are not forgotten.
Hi, my name is Anna Sellers. I am from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Most people know me as Ladi London. I am a black trans identifying woman. My pronouns are she, her, hers. This year I am a first year Milwaukee Public Allies. I've been placed with Milwaukee Water Commons, which is a organization that advocates for water quality, green infrastructure, water equity, and water stewardship. I am also an entrepreneur as well as a black trans artist. I have a production company called Graphic Graphics Productions. I also have recently developed a platform called Social Therapy, which is tailored to therapeutic conversations that are favorable and non-favorable to society, all in the efforts to cultivate change and to do so by bringing these conversations and stories to the forefront for discussion. And we do this in a way where we are inclusive and we allow others to come in and engage without judgment or discrimination. Also, I'm here today because I wanted to sit in solidarity with everyone as we honor our fallen sisters who have been victimized by black trans violence and trans violence overall. I sit today as a survivor, I sit as a sister, and I sit as a supporter. I also wanted to lend my voice to show people that women like me can be more than hashtags, trending topics and stories, and big headlines and big dollars for major companies and and organizations and industries. I'm here to lend a voice to say that we can be what we want to be if we choose to be, and that we do not have to settle for what society says that we should be and what we are allowed to have. I wanted to recite a poem I wrote a few months ago titled, I Am a Woman, Am I Not? This is a poem that I connect with and that I believe that most of my trans sisters would connect with as it relates to womanhood, identity, and femininity. And I'll begin now. Thank you. I talk with a feminine grace and with an edgy tone, but yet I am not a female. I cramp in my side and I rage with emotion, yet I have no menstrual, but am I not still a woman? I walk with a switch and dip with my hips. My lips are full and my skin is soft, and I ask, am I not a woman? My hair is strong and bold and reaches a lift from the crown of my head to the base of my collarbone, and I still ask, God, am I not a woman? I think with my X and I step with my Y. When I walk, the ground rumbles and the lights flutter. With all this power in my mind, I still wonder, am I not a woman? I'm filled with many thoughts, cluttered by humongous rocks, also known as stumbling blocks, with words that speak to me, which make me cry out to the mountain's peak, God, am I not a woman? As I step in my dress, my eyes flicker as I touch my hair with a soft caress. My curls twinkle. The magic in my heart makes it all simple. But yet I struggle with a complex that is struggled in stiff necks and hard heads and tough chests. My mind is restless with no complaints, working tirelessly to become a better me, one that can understand and see that I am a woman. I am a woman that I claim to be. I speak it unto his name, and so mote it be. The blessings that reign have changed my entire mind frame. He has given me dominion over my course and made me the commander of my ship by allowing me the freedom to will, to choose. Whether it be right or wrong isn't the matter at hand, but whether one can endure the consequence of one's decision to the end. So as long as I know I possess the power to choose, I no longer have to ask, am I not a woman? I hope that you enjoyed that poem. That poem means something dearly to my heart. And I would like to end this by leaving a message for my younger sisters. I want to say that I love you. I support you. Please reach out to me if you need me. I also want to say, please find yourself a healthy balance between authenticity and between presenting to a world that is not always accepting. Stay encouraged. Love yourself. Love your neighbors. Love your enemies. Understand that our people, our sisters outside of our community, our brothers outside of our community, they suffer from a lack of knowledge. They perish because of ignorance. And that is not your business. The only thing that we have to do is to love them. And that's it. Love them and accept them the way that we want to be loved and the way that we want to be accepted. I love you. Thank you for listening. Enjoy your day.
We will now honor the lives of the transgender and gender nonconforming people who were murdered this year. Say their names aloud. Light a candle. Dustin Parker, age 25, shot in McAlester, Oklahoma on New Year's Day. He was known as a steadfast friend, an amazing husband and father, and generous to a fault. Nulisa Luciana Ruiz, also known as Alexa, was known by members of her community as humble and noble. She was fatally shot in Toa Baja, Puerto Rico, February 24th. Yampi Mendez Arocho was only 19 when he was killed in Mocha, Puerto Rico on March 5th. He loved basketball. His favorite team was the Miami Heat. On his Facebook, he wrote, "Humility prevails." Monica Diamond was 34 when she was killed in Charlotte, North Carolina on March 18th. She was active in the Charlotte nightlife community and was the co-owner of an event promotion company. She led the International Mother of the Year pageant system, which honored LGBTQ mothers. Lexi was a 33-year-old transgender woman who was killed in Harlem, New York on March 28th. Lexi had a beautiful heart, says her friend. She was very gifted. She loved poetry, makeup, and fashion. Joanna Metzger, age 25, was from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but was killed in Baltimore, Maryland on April 11th. She was known for her love of music and taught herself to play several instruments. Serena Angelique Velasquez Ramos was 32 when she was killed in Puerto Rico on April 21st. She was visiting the island on vacation and was set to return home to New York at the end of the month. Her loved ones called her full of life, a happy person, and a sincere friend. Leila Pelaez Sanchez was 21 and she was killed alongside Serena Angelique Velasquez Ramos. She had recently moved to the island and was living in Las Piedras. On May 1st, 2 men were charged under federal hate crime law for their deaths. Penelope Diaz Ramirez was 31 years old when she was killed by a male inmate at the Bayamon Correctional Complex on April 13th. Her death was not reported until weeks later. Nina Pop was 28 years old when she was killed in Sikeston, Missouri on May 3rd. She was deeply loved by her family, friends, and community. The Okra Project dedicated $15,000 to form the Nina Pop Mental Health Recovery Fund. Kelly J. O'Regan was 20 years old when she was killed in San Antonio, Texas on May 6th. She was proud of her trans identity and often spoke out against injustice, against the prison industrial complex, and for the need to decriminalize sex work. Tony McDade was 38 when he was killed by the police in Tallahassee, Florida on May 27th. His friends and family shared how he was an energetic, giving person with a big heart. His name was shouted in the streets during the protests against police brutality. Dominique Remy Valls was 27 years old when she was killed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Her friends described her as unique and a beautiful soul. They said that she lived her truth so loud that you could hear her a mile away. Raya Milton was 25 years old when she was killed in Liberty Township, Ohio on June 9th. She worked as a home health aide and studied at the University of Cincinnati. She was a loving sister and aunt and often posted photos of her family on social media. Jane Thompson was 33 years old when she was killed by the police in Mesa County, Colorado on May 9th. The district attorney announced that no charges would be filed, and it took a month to find out about her death because she was misgendered in the initial reports. Selena Reyes Hernandez was 37 years old when she was killed in Chicago, Illinois on May 31st. She was shot and killed after she revealed to a man that she was trans. Unfortunately, her final wishes were disrespected. She was buried by her family under her dead name. Brian Egypt Powers was 43 when he was killed in Akron, Ohio on June 13th. Powers worked at a local catering company and was remembered for wearing long, colorful braids. He called them his unicorn braids. Brayla Stone was only 17 years old when she was killed in Little Rock, Arkansas on June 25th. A petition called Justice for Brayla Stone amassed over 600,000 signatures. In September, a suspect was charged with her murder. Mercy Mack was 22 years old when she was killed in Dallas, Texas on June 30th, less than 1,000 feet from her family home. She loved to bake, and her loved ones shared how beautiful of a friend she was. On July 8th, a man was arrested for her murder. Shaky Peters was 32 when she was killed in Amite City, Louisiana on July 1st. Her friend said that she was consistently laughing, consistently joking, the first person to get up and dance. 2 suspects have been arrested for her murder. Bree Black was 27 years old when she was killed in Pompano Beach, Florida on July 3rd. Her community organized a protest called Justice for Bree and wrote that no one is free until Black trans women are free. Summer Taylor was 24 years old when they were killed in Seattle, Washington on July 4th during the Black Femme March in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. Summer worked at an animal hospital, and their friend described them as a blinding light in an otherwise dark world. Marilyn Cazares was 22 years old when she was killed in Raleigh, California in July. Her family described her as a badass queen who was known for her colorful clothing. She loved to sing and dance. Tiffany Harris, also known as Dior H. Ova, was 32 years old when she was killed on July 26 in the Bronx, New York. She loved fashion and was described as a beautiful soul full of life and love. In August, a man was arrested for her murder. Quisha D. Hardy was 22 years old when she was killed in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on July 27th. She was a hairstylist and was extremely loved by her community. Her friends described her as always smiling, the life of all parties, and truly one of a kind. Aja Raquel Roan Spears was 34 years old when she was killed while attending a vigil for a homicide victim in Portland, Oregon on July 28th. Her mother said that she loved life, she loved people, and that she was proud of who she was. Key Sam was 24 years old when she was killed in Lafayette, Louisiana on August 12th. Her friends wrote, "This can't be real. Rest in love. You know you're in my heart forever." A man has been arrested for her murder. Ariane Burnett was 37 years old when she was killed in Independence, Missouri on September 19th. Her friend said she was a Barbie. If you wanted to have a good day, if you needed to smile, Ariane was the person you wanted by your side. Mia Green was 29 years old when she was killed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on September 28th. Her friends shared how her smile was so perfect and so contagious. They described her as a sweet spirit and her death as heartbreaking. A suspect has been arrested and charged with her murder. Michelle Michelin Ramos Vargas was 33 years old when she was killed in San German, Puerto Rico on September 30th. She was studying to become a nurse at Ponce Paramedical College. Felicia Harris was 33 years old when she was killed in Augusta, Georgia on October 3rd. She owned her own interior decorating company. Her friends remember her laugh, her smile, her talks, her attitude. They said everyone is going to remember who Felicia Harris is. Brooklyn Deshauna Smith was 20 years old when she was killed in Shreveport, Louisiana on October 7th. She was studying cosmetology in college and was also a model. Her friends remember her as genuinely a good person and that they were heartbroken for her loss. Sarah Blackwood was 39 when she was killed while walking home from work in Indianapolis, Indiana on October 11th. She was a thoughtful, curious person who was politically active online. Her partner wrote, "Sarah was everything to me. She was the best person, and the world is a worse place without her in it." Angel Unique Haynes was 25 when she was killed in Memphis, Tennessee on October 25th. She was a licensed cosmetologist, and her friends and family remember her as very funny, very nice to everybody she met, and such a bright person with a positive spirit. Uni Carey was 39 years old when she was killed this week, Tuesday, November 17th in Miami, Florida. She was well known and loved in the pageant community and won several important titles, including Miss Cuba International. In addition to those who were killed in the United States, we also honor and remember the lives of the 300 plus other trans and gender nonconforming people who were killed around the world.
I was born by the river in a little town. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. I go to the movies and I go downtown. Somebody keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know the change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. When I go to my brother, I say, brother, help me please. But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees, begging, please. There've been times when I thought I couldn't last that long, and now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time, but I know that a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Naomi and Elle. On this special day, Transgender Day of Remembrance, we like to remember those family members that we've lost due to violence and hatred upon other things that disproportionately affect the trans community, primarily that one of color. We like to give admiration and respect to the accomplishments achieved within the trans community and those great and powerful leaders that help lead us there. To the trans community, to all of my friends and family, I love you. In this time, we will get through this. Let's wear our masks, let's be safe, and let's just get through this time. I send my love.
Hey everybody, it's Dezjorn from Dezjorn International. And although we couldn't gather in person for Transgender Day of Remembrance in solidarity, I'm super excited that we could still gather virtually. And I'm on here to let you know that you are loved, that you are beautiful, and that you are amazing. Always be you.
Again, my name is Reverend Jonah Overton, and as we have been together tonight, we thought we would do a bit of a closing ritual together. Many of us have lit candles tonight, and if you haven't so far, now is a great time to do that. If you don't have a candle on hand, another way to bring light into this world is to turn on an extra light wherever you are, or maybe shine the flashlight on your phone. Whatever method you choose, we are bringing our light, our goodness, the fullness of who we are into the world, and trusting that that makes the world a slightly brighter, more beautiful place. Though we have experienced so much loss this year, as we remember those who we've lost, we also remember each of those who has shined a light into our lives. And we remember the light we bring into the world to make it a little brighter. At this time, I would like to light some candles for the community gathered here, for the light you represent in the world, for the beauty of your being and the way that it changes my life and the lives of so many others. I'd like to encourage you all to think of people in your life whose light you'd like to lift up. You can write those names in comments or the chat box, or you can just say that name quietly in the privacy of wherever you are right now and lift up the light that shines in the darkness. I want to encourage you to take a moment to connect with your body, to breathe deeply, to remember the light that burns bright inside of you and inside each of us. Now is the time to say those names, to lift up those whose light brings us hope. The light of this community shines bright, and in the darkness or the mystery or the unknown, the light we each bring lights the path. We travel together in love, in memory, and in hope. May you shine your light into this world, and may your light greet the other lights that love you.
Hey family, my name is Cameron. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm one of the pastors at Zao MKE Church. And tonight is a hard night for some. We have mourned, we have remembered, and also we have moved into this moment that says we are lights in this world. So I want to remind you that you are not alone. If you are feeling alone right now, please reach out to somebody who's on this call with you. We are here. And also, for the next 15 minutes, we are going to play a little music. We are going to open the chat up and just have a time for us to come together and just connect. This, I believe, to be one of the most important things that we can do to make sure that our light continues to shine and that no one feels like they are in the dark. So, for the next 15 minutes, please join us as we continue this time of remembrance, of celebration of life, and of connection to community. Thanks, family.
Thank you for being here, everybody, tonight. Please take care of yourself and each other. Share some love with people in your life, and we hope to see everybody soon.